Hi, I'm Andrew Peterson again, doing another video, and today I'm going to be cleaning this 1911. If you're curious, it's M45A1, and I have an Otis cleaning kit that I'll be using today, kind of testing it out. And so let's get to it. To start with, let's make sure it's unloaded, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. And to get these 1911s apart, you have to depress that little plunger, and then you have to twist this barrel bushing, and it'll lock. And there's a bunch of gunk that you can see is built up there. And now I'll take it out. And make sure that you don't lose any of these parts. They are quite expensive to replace. And I don't know that from experience. I've always kept them in good condition and haven't lost any. Okay, and then I'm gonna slide the slide off. There we go. And then the barrel comes out the front. And as you can see, this is pretty nasty inside of there. And so's the barrel. Still a little bit oily, so that's good. The chamber, which I'm gonna start with that. And I have this letting brush that I'll use on it. It goes like that. And then this is anti-letting cleaner. So I'm gonna take this, spray a little bit in there. I'll take the brush, start cleaning the chamber. Let's see. Trying to get right on top. Use a little bit more. Okay, and then I like to go over it with a nylon brush as well, just to make sure got everything out. Also go over the top of it using the spray. There we go. Just to get back here. Okay, brush the sides a little. There's gunk built up there. Just go right there. Get those all clean. Gotta make sure that the serrations are clean as well. That's what the slide rides on. And if that's dirty, then so will everything else. Eventually it'll leak on there. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of this cleaner on here. Some people use this as lubricant. I don't. I use hops number 9 to do that. Got these pads. When it comes to lubrication, I don't care what it is. I make sure that everything has some. That's a moving part. Because it's very difficult whenever you're out hunting or something and your gun doesn't work and you take it back home and you just have too much crud built up in it for it too. And I prefer mine to always work, and that's why I put lubricant on it. And there we go. That's good. For that, the slide is the next part that I do, and I'm gonna put a little bit of this on there, and I'm also gonna spray it. Let it sit for a second, and then I'll spray right there and in there. So I also make sure that I clean the chamber pretty well. I mean, not the chamber, but gotta clean that because, well, you got your firing pin assembly right here, and you don't want that getting all gunked up, because if your firing pin won't move, your gun's not going to go off, no matter how clean everything else is. And so I use a nylon brush. Some people only use nylon. I also do use copper or brass brushes as well. Some people are completely against those and say that it scratches stuff and that nylon won't scratch ever. And I'm just careful, but I don't do it too hard. I just make sure that it's cleaned. And so I also am gonna spray on the inside of these tracks. Let it soak. Make sure I spread it around good. And then I can use the smaller end of the brush and get right in there and clean it out. And then I take my brush, swipe it there, take the big side, and I'll swipe it in there too. Go over that again, just to make sure. And then I'll go over the top of it. Like I showed earlier, it's got a little bit of gunk. And I clean this gun pretty semi-regular. It's the gun that I carry. So always want to make sure that that gun is clean, because you never know what will happen, and you want to be prepared. Make sure that your gun is clean enough to operate, and I clean it I would say once a weekish, but I do shoot it that much. So, and I shoot it after every time I clean it as well. I have a friend that thinks that that's ridiculous. However, he lives in Canada, so that explains a lot. I'm just kidding. They're got nothing against Canadians, but they don't always keep their guns as clean as they should. At least the ones that I know. And so then I do the barrel, and I like to clean the outside of the chamber first, because then all that gunk is going to go down the barrel, and I don't want to have to re-clean that. So I take the brush, then I'm going to take some spray, spray it on there, let it sit for a second. And try and clean it a little bit better right there, just to get everything off. And so this gun is pretty good. Some people think it's a little bit big to carry every day, and it is. It weighs about 3 pounds, but it doesn't really bother me. And I'm not a super big guy, and so it's harder to conceal. Since I'm not, but that's okay. I know that it'll get the job done, and I'm 100% biased. I love Colts, and those are the guns that I will choose to carry pretty much no matter what. And I like Glocks too, but I'm a little bit better shot with these than that. That's why I choose to carry it. Okay, now I've got this wire brush on this cable. A lot of people like to use rods like this, and you can attach the brush to the end of that just like this wire cable. It just screws on and off like that. And I don't do that. I usually use a snake, but this wire brush is just as good. And I like to drag through barrels instead of pushing. A lot of people think that it's bad to push through, so I pull. So I send this wire down, and then I'm gonna pull it through. And I usually do this about 3 times. I look down the barrel, and that's pretty clean there, but I don't try and underdo it. I try to make sure I get every last little piece out of the barrel. I've put about 1,500 rounds through this gun, and I have never had it fail before. And that looks pretty good. And I want to keep it that way. Because no matter how nice your gun is, if you don't clean it, it'll eventually not work anymore. And if you paid a lot of money for a gun, even if it's, $500 gun, that's still an investment, and you want to keep it clean, and they last longer in oil. I know a lot of guys that'll clean their firearms, but then they neglect to oil them. And some guns will run dry, and you could, run them that way for a while. But in my experience, running guns dry, they'll do it. And I've tested this one, running it dry before, just to see. Only put 50 rounds through it when I did so, and it worked just fine, but it feels way better when it's oiled. The slide's smoother, and I do this for Glocks as well. It's not because it's a 1911 or anything. These are great guns. But everything nowadays is compared to a Glock. And I also clean the little pieces too. I do take it down to the last bolt every once in a while. Not every time after I'm done shooting it. I'm just field stripping it today, and this is what I normally do. But I will take it down to every last bolt and spring and screw and clean it up and just get all the black gunk off. Make sure that it looks new, and that's good. And it's just to make this gun outlive me, which it will if you take care of it right. I have been looking for a 1911 that was made back in 1911, and a lot of people ask me if that's safe to shoot. I say yes, it is. I've shot some before, and a lot of people will tell me that I, don't want that gun. I should buy something else, but I want it for not only its historical significance, but because I want to shoot it and hand it to someone and say, here, this is made back in 1911, and it's an original one. It's an original Colt, and it works just fine, even to this day. despite being over 100 years old. But I'll also keep it in a special container, probably in my house anyways, because that's just how I do things. And then that way people can look at it and ask me questions. I like getting questions about old guns. And you might have noticed that this one has 2 recoiling springs. And I do clean those as well. And that's just to help with recoil. This is a 45, and so this thing recoils, I would say, like a 9mm or even a 380. It's not bad at all. And then I'm going to use some hops number 9 and put some oil on these pads and wipe it down with that and get in there, get on the sides, back, there we go. Okay, I'm also gonna oil all the pieces. And I'll take some oil, put it around the barrel, and I'll just roll that around, spread the oil around in there. Take the slide, clean it, put oil on it, and this gun is like a brand new one. And that's a great thing about guns. People, will take a gun, go out, shoot it, put it back in the safe, without cleaning it. And it's like your car. At a certain amount of miles, you want to put new oil in it or change the tires. And it's the same concept, but people don't do it. They just kind of let it go and say, oh, it still shoots, and then it will stop. And then they'll take it to someone that knows how to clean it and say, hey, my gun's not working, and you'll clean it and hand it back to them. And I've had some guys ask me, what did you do? And I said, well, I cleaned it and then put some oil on it. And they said, that's it? I'm like, yep. And they're like, well, how did you do that? I've never learned how. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll show you. And after that, some of the people that are, once they buy a new gun, they'll bring it to me and ask me how to take it apart and clean it first. And I enjoy that. They're good learners. And to put these springs in, I do it one at a time, just to make sure that I get them in there straight. And drop them in like that. But you always gotta, I like to start with the little one, and it drops in, and then there, and then You gotta put your barrel bushing back over, and it'll snap into place. And there we go. And that's cleaning the 1911. This Otis kit is pretty nice. It's got lots of different calibers in it. As you can see here, this is what I'm using. I used the 45 brush on it. And all of these, it's got shotguns, 12, 16, 20, 28, 410, 50, 45, and then all the way down to 22. They even have a 25, which is nice, because I have one, and, you know, these kits are expensive. I would recommend them, though, especially if you own a wide variety of calibers, like I do. And I do not have a 27 or a 7mm. However, I'm hoping to get one soon. And go check out these Otis kits. And I will see y'all next time.